Hi, my name is Rabbi Shmuel Kopel. I very often upload YouTube videos that are edited perfectly. I figured I just wanted to do one natural video where I just kind of share my thoughts and see what you think. I'm just going to ask you to do one thing for me. If you like what you see, please click subscribe button at the bottom, and once you hit the subscribe button, there'll be a bell there as well. If you click that, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Now, if this is the first time you're watching or hearing about me, I very often send out interesting questions all over the internet, mostly on Facebook, and people ask me all the time, why don't you give any answers? Why do you just give the questions? Well, here I'm going to tell you a bit of why I do what I do. It's actually pretty simple. There are so many people out there that they preach and they tell you everything that they think and everything they want you to believe, and there's just too many of them. I can't compete with all these people giving out information. So if I actually want to be unique, I have to do something different. I can't just give out information. That's number one. Number two is, if I actually tell you what I think, then that distances us. Either you accept what I say and you say, wow, this is really good, or you say, I disagree. And if you disagree, then you're like, okay, well, I don't need to listen to this rabbi anymore. He has nothing to tell me because we don't see eye to eye. Now, why should I do that? I want you to be part of my life. I want you to be able to have some influence for me, and perhaps you to have influence on me as well. Right? Well, I'm not even sure what I just said. I think I just said the same thing twice. Well, again, I want to be influenced by you, and I want to influence you the same way. Now, how do I decide what I ask? You know, people say, wow, Rabbi, you have the most amazing questions that stimulate our thoughts. And, you know, how do you come up with these questions? And the answer is very simple, is that every single question that I'm asking is based on a really deep-rooted study of spirituality. So in some ways, I am trying to tell you something, but I'm really not trying to tell it to you. I'm trying to open you up to seeing that there's something to think about. So, I've personally studied Kabbalistic and Hasidic teachings for over 2 decades. And in that time, I pretty much focused on spirituality, number one, as a science. There is a science to the reality of the beyond reality. I know some of you may disagree, and that's fine. Don't hate me for it. Still try to answer my questions. I appreciate your opinion. But the fact is that there is a science to spirituality. And if you watch a little further, I'm going to explain to you a few details about the science of spirituality. Okay, but there is a science to spirituality. There is a physical, emotional, psychological need to connect to spirituality. Now, whenever there's a need, there's an industry. Okay, people need food, and because people need food, there's a whole bunch of sellers out there that are going to try to sell you food. You need food, I have your food, give me money, and I'll give you food. Since spirituality is a need, a real need, there is automatically going to be a huge industry around fulfilling that need. Of course, the question is, what is that need? And we're going to get to that soon. But I want you to understand that it is a need. And if you want to look historically, the most successful industry throughout history was always some form of spiritual movements. If you look in Egypt, in the Bible, it says that while the Egyptian government took over all of the industry and all of the property of every single Egyptian, when there was the starvation, when there was the hunger, it says that they did not take the property or the benefits of the priests of the time. The Egyptian priests were held at a very high pedestal, and they were given a free ride, right? So they were given food, they were given things, and nothing was ever taken for them. Great industry. I mean, if you think about it today, tax deductible. The second you say religion, it's tax deductible in the United States. I'm not sure about every country, but in many countries, all of a sudden you say the word religion, boom, that's it. You don't have to pay taxes, and guess what? It is very often a very lucrative business. Okay, people pay membership fees, people pay donations, and people pay for services that have to do with spirituality. Just as a side note, one of the main things that I do personally is I actually meet with people one-on-one to help them develop their internal spirituality. So again, I'm not a rabbi trying to teach people, you need to follow this, you need to do this, or you're going to hell. I actually do this from the other person's perspective. So I ask them questions to try to develop and find their own spiritual needs. And people are paying a lot of money to do that. And it is extremely beneficial. Just in my personal opinion, it is the key to motivation, the key to confidence, and the key to being comfortable with life. You cannot be comfortable with life if you have internal spiritual confusion. And very often you can't be motivated because there's something dragging you back and saying, well, what's this really worth? What's the point of this? And you can't really be motivated if you don't have a spiritual vision. Now, spirituality is not always the same as religion. A lot of people equate spirituality with religion. They say religion equals spirituality, which means it's a doctrine, it's this, you listen to me or else, these are the rules, do it or you're wrong, do it or you're going to hell. That is the way that many people unfortunately view spirituality. The problem with that is that type of spirituality is actually a poisonous, toxic spirituality or form of spirituality that was created really by people who wanted to monopolize on your spirituality. So a religion will tell you, you need to listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you're going to hell. And basically, I'm your boss. Okay? It's almost like a restaurant says, if you eat here once, you can't eat in any other restaurant, or else you're going to die. I mean, who's ever going to believe that? But for some reason, when it comes to religion, people seem to believe that. Yeah, okay, well, if I like your religion, I want your religion, I can't go anywhere else. Right? That is a problem. That is oppressive spirituality. Oppressive spirituality is like me trying to, I'm going to feed you, say for example, I'm going to feed you food that is addictive, so you're always going to need to come back to me, and I now have control over you. Like the cigarette trade. The cigarette trade, people smoke, and by you smoking, you're going to be addicted to smoking, you're going to have to buy their cigarettes, and they're going to make money. In religion, it could be very similar, where they kind of try to addict you to go to them, and very often it's not in your best interest. Okay, and very often religious people do suffer depression and anxiety and all sorts of other things because of their misunderstood spirituality. Okay, but now is time. I want to actually tell you a little bit about the real human need for spirituality, and that's what I'm going to explain. Is somewhat the basis of my questions, but obviously what I'm telling you now in a few minutes is nothing that in a few minutes, there's no way that I'm going to be able to tell you everything, but I'm going to tell you some of the interesting points. Okay? Every single human being in this world, as far as I understand, as far as I've seen and experienced, has a sense that they're not human. Humanity, their body, is something secondary to who they are. Okay? Now, I've spoken to many atheists. Okay? Atheists who say they don't believe in any God, anything spiritual. But all of a sudden, there's something bigger than themselves. There's something that they're not okay with just serving their body because they feel connected to a being that's greater and bigger than themselves. right? This is I would say natural, because every single person that I've spoken to, I was able to show them that this is the reality. You don't believe that you are a body. You believe that you are something that is now possessing a body. As a matter of fact, somebody once came to me and they said, Rabbi, do you believe in ghosts? And I said, of course. And they said, how do you know there's ghosts? I said, because I am one. So in reality, you believe you're a ghost possessing a body, essentially. You could call it a ghost, you could call it a soul, a spirit. Different people call it different things. Everybody senses this. And I say the word sense because this is not a belief. This is a deep inner sense. You know it internally as a reality. And the reason I say this in absolute form is because every single person, without failure, within 15, 20 minutes, I was able to prove them by their own actions, by their own decisions in their lives, that they do not identify as their body. They identify as something much bigger than a body that is now working through their body for the whole. And that's a very general way of looking at it, but this is a sense. Okay? Now, because you have this sense, there are two major questions that you will ask yourself. I wouldn't even say every day, but you're constantly asking yourself. I would say it is the motherboard of the human psyche, deep, deep inside your brain. You are asking yourself two questions. Question number one, who am I? What am I? What is the true, real me? Okay, that's number one. Number two, what am I doing here? Okay, if I'm not my physical body and I came to possess my physical body, why did I do that? Okay, now every single form of spirituality, and I wouldn't even say spirituality, I would say ideology, philosophy, everything is always trying to answer these questions. What is it that you truly are, number one, and what are you doing here? Okay, now many forms of spirituality that I've looked into only deal with question one, is who am I? What is the real me? What is the deeper me? Okay, and for example, they answer, you're a soul, you came here to life, and then you're going to go to afterlife. You got to make sure that you don't get beaten over there. Okay, so the whole reason to come down here is because you're not going to get beaten over there, but that's not really a reason for coming down here, right? That's only it's only about the afterwards, or there's a bigger reality out there that you need to prepare for. But that doesn't tell me why I actually came to the body. Okay, the only place that I personally found a lot of detailed teachings within the second question is, what am I doing here, is in the Kabbalistic and Hasidic teachings, where they actually have a very vivid picture of what is the purpose of creation to begin with. Why did the world come into existence? What's the purpose? And if you know why the world came into existence, then, well, where do I fit into that general destiny of humanity, of the world? And how do I enhance and advance that destiny to the next level? Okay? These are very important. And in a human psyche, I would say it's more important to answer question number two than question number one. It's more important to know what you're doing here than who you truly are. Because who you are, so what? Do you know? Maybe you'll find a little better and a little better. You ask the most major religious people and spiritual people, they'll tell you that they've thought and they've gotten to really deep levels of understanding, but they always felt there was more. Okay? But okay, well, why do you need to know what you were before you were in your body? If when you leave your body, you're going to find out, right? Before you were in your body, you came into your body, right? Now when you leave your body, you're going to find out what you used to be. It doesn't really matter to your life. I wouldn't say it's not important spiritually, because I think it is. But the whole reason why it's important to connect with your deeper spirituality is because you want purpose. You want to know, whoa, I need to know what my deeper spirituality is in order to know why I came here. right? And Kabbalistic teachings definitely has a lot working with question number one, with who am I? There's a lot of that. But it seems like the whole purpose is to figure out, well, now that you know better who you are, you'll be able to accomplish what you're doing here in a better way. And that is the goal. When you work on question number two, you get question number two correct. That is when you live a healthy life. And by the way, if you don't want to take it from a rabbi, there is a very famous psychologist called Viktor Frankl that he basically determined through his psychological research as an academic, a secular academic, he determined that the main goal of psychological health is to reach some level of meaning and purpose in your life. And that was from a totally academic perspective, which essentially is exactly what I just told you from the Kabbalistic perspective of figuring out what you're doing here in life. What is your purpose? All right. Now that's going to be it for this video. And I hope in the future maybe I'm going to make some more videos. Of course, if you encourage me by doing so, by leaving some comments and leaving your suggestions and your ideas, that will encourage me to make more videos. Another thing I want you to do, right there, if you didn't do it yet, click subscribe. And after you click subscribe, there's going to be a bell. Click the bell. You're going to be notified every time that I upload a new video. I love the fact that you watched all the way to the end. Have a great day.